Welcome, everyone. This is Glenda Dawson, and I have my beautiful co-host Sarah Garcia here, and you're watching the Paranormal Dolls. Hi, Sarah. How are you today?
I'm really excited for our guest that I got to meet in Mineral Wells, Texas at the Haunted Hill House. And she
Nice.
knows a lot about that house. So get
Very
ready.
good. So our great guest is Martha Decker. Hi, Martha. How are you?
Hello. Hello there. I am good. I am unswamped. It was raining last night and today.
Mm.
I
Mm.
got in one spot down one road that it's been years since I've been down, and it's a private road. It was so bad. I was so glad I had the wheels that I had on my tires I had on my truck, because I would never have made it. They would have been pulling me out with
Mm.
probably 1,000 foot of chain.
Did you get a floaty to swim through the rain?
It was horrible,
Oh
because by the time
no.
I realized how the road was, and you can't see how deep the holes are, you can kind of judge that it's going to be deep, and you can't slow down or go slow through them because of the mud.
Mhm.
So thankfully I had some four-wheel drive experience. and then my nice and fancy truck is going up and down, digging in the mud and splashing the water and going up in the air, slamming down, going to the side. It's like, oh my God. When I finally found a place, that a driveway I could turn around in, where it wasn't in the middle of a puddle, so I could actually back out, I had to sit about 10 minutes and come down from the trip to get there, because I was so
Oof.
nervous to turn around and go back the other way.
Mm.
It was horrible. I was a Dodge Ram commercial. That's what I was. I was a
They need to
commercial.
sponsor you. They need to sponsor you now.
Yeah, I know. Where was the camera recording? Because I was the commercial showing the Dodge Ram going through
Dodge,
horrible
she needs a new
terrain.
truck. Okay. Needs to be sponsored.
I do. I only have 100. Already have 107,000 miles on it. So,
Mm.
and
Okay.
it's 3 years old. So
Eh,
Oh.
you travel. Good for you.
no.
So, our audience would love to know more about you besides your driver truck.
Well, I come from Detroit, Michigan. We had growing up, we went down, we lived outside New Orleans. We lived in Memphis, down the street from Elvis, for most of my childhood, because we were there.
Wow.
Went to Louisiana, went back. Oh yeah, I got Elvis stories.
We have to bring you on for another show now because I want to
Yeah,
talk about Elvis.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I've got Elvis stories. And but I was probably about 4 when I started having paranormal experiences. But so I've been a photographer, I've been a journalist, I've been an author, I've been a firefighter, I've been law enforcement, and back to a little bit of firefighting. And you just scuba, freelance, you can do a little bit of everything.
Good for you. Good for you. I love it.
Jane of all trades.
Yeah, I'm the female George Plimpton.
But the female MacGyver too. She'll figure it out.
Yeah, and fingers crossed, because I have this thing of heights next year for my birthday. It's my husband, who forgets a lot of stuff, did not forget this. Yeah, let's yeah, your next birthday, it's your tandem skydive, right? It's like, well, crap. I was thinking about waiting 10 more years. So
Of course, of
it
all
is
the
what
things,
it
that's
is.
the one thing he remembers.
Yeah, exactly. I come out to the camper, because our travel trailer is my office, and he's like, bye. I go, I'm just going out to the camper. I'm not leaving yet. Yeah, I forgot.
So tell us
And
about
'cause
your book and how it
Yes.
coincides with Haunted Hill House.
okay, well, I have one book. It's actually a series, but the
Ooh.
first book is Haunted Hill House, Where Spirits Speak, and I'm probably after the first of the year I'm going to revise that one because and then the next book after that is going to be the one on the murders of the house.
Nice.
Yeah, the murders and the natural deaths, it's just, and it's going to be almost like a tell-all because there's a
Mhm.
one unsolved murder that was 10 years old when they bought the house in 2018. She was last seen at Haunted Hill House. She knew and ran around with some teenagers. She was 19 with teenagers that were in the house. So I'm gonna go into a lot more depth on that. She was missing for a year, and they found parts of some of her bones in a pasture about a year after she went missing. We have a photo. Kathy has a photo. Kathy and Sonny Estes are the owners. Has a photo that I've seen of her in the back seat of a car, and she's bruised up like she's been, hit a few times, and with Hill House in the background. And that was the last photo that I guess, that there was of her.
Oh,
And that was
wow.
the day she went. Yeah, that was the day she went missing.
Mm, mm.
So,
No, that sounds very interesting. Can't
Did they
wait
ever
for
find out
you.
who did it?
Unsolved,
hmm?
right? That's
Is
an
it unsolved?
unsolved?
It's an unsolved. We kind of know, or we have our suspicions.
Mhm.
I'm working on it, and then I'm getting help from Greg Lawson, who is a detective with Travis County Sheriff's Office,
Mm,
and so he's helping too.
good, good.
And in fact, when he stayed at the house within the first 2 years that they had bought the house, and he and his dog, and then there's somebody that he uses for metal detecting, Gypsy Jules, and she's a professional with it, and she works with law enforcement, uh, you know, to help them find evidence.
Mm,
And she's been on a lot of TV shows. She's been on any number of them that Prometheus used to do. So like they do. So they came out and did Beyond Oak Island over at Hill House,
mm,
and Gypsy was there, and she's been on a lot of the different gold ones where they're digging or hunting or whatever for gold. She's been on a number of those and several other things. So that, but with her and his dog, they found several items in the backyard that belonged to the murder suspect.
okay.
Not suspect, the murdered victim.
Mm,
And we have a lot more. I'm still kind of, don't want to go in a whole lot on the suspect yet, but
no, no.
we do have good stuff. For some reason, the allegedly the police department lost a lot of the documents and things they had collected with this murder.
Hmm.
And that's for the rest of the story later when we get some more stuff, because there's several other people we're trying to, I hope, to interview.
Right.
And
Now, as far as what you wrote, can you go into detail like the history of the place that you can give?
Yeah, well, the house was built in, steps. The first part of the house was 1860, 1870, and that was really an A-frame. 2, possibly 3 of the wells, the first wells in Mineral Wells, are on that property. So they're on that property. There used to be a welcome sign that's on one of their other mountains now, was initially up behind the house. We've gone up through the woods, which are just giant cactus, with trunks the size of big old trees. And going up through there, they found the base for the sign. The sign, tornado took the sign out, and then they put it on a different hill. that said welcome, but it was directly behind the house. In fact, there's a famous movie producer out of Hollywood who is related to the people that own the house. The Yeagers or the Kyles, I forget. Yeagers and the Kyles. I have to look at my notes to see which came first, because they were, in the early years, and it went through the family for quite a while, even up through the brothel and brothel time and everything. That was still, in the family. And that was William Lester Kyle that had the brothel. But no, when he came to visit and saw the welcome sign, and when he went back to Hollywood, that's where the Hollywood sign came from. It originated with his idea after seeing the Mineral Wells welcome sign that was behind Hill House.
Wow.
I did not know that.
Very cool.
Yeah, and there, there's talks of Sam Bass gold being buried up there. Any of these people are into all this treasure hunting and read. That's one of the several places around, around that area that they say it could be in one of the smaller caverns. There are caves up there. You can't really see them anymore. You could see them back then.
Right.
But the cactus has just grown huge. If you see any pictures of the old one, they actually had a mule or burro hike or trail that you'd ride up to the top, and they had there was a souvenir stand, and then they also had stairs that people used to climb. It was almost like a religious retreat or something, but they would climb for exercise.
Right.
They would climb those, and it's pretty steep. And they would climb those up to the top and then back down.
Cardio, yay.
Oh boy. So
there's that, there's just so much with this house. There's one, the wells is outside and sealed up. Somebody called himself Judge Lynch, but he wasn't a judge. Came to town. At one point, he ordered all the wells sealed up in town. At one point, there were 20 bathhouses in Mineral Wells.
Wow.
And of course, the Baker Hotel, it would be the same as if you were in Hot Springs, Arkansas. All the bedrooms, the bathrooms had the mineral water in them, and people used to come for that.
Crazy water.
Then the crazy water came about, and tapped into everything too. And that their story that they used to have out that they don't have out, regarding their history, they talk about a crazy woman. That's how they came up with crazy water. They used to go through town being all crazy, and she started drinking the water. The water, the number 4, and I like the number 4, has lithium in it. And one of the many minerals and everything in it. And but they said she started drinking it and wasn't so crazy. So that's kind of where that boom. But the lady was Sarah Renfro, and she used to live in Hill House in the room in the back with a negative experience in Jacob's room.
Right.
That's where we think that's where she used to be. And actually there's the windows are nailed shut from the inside, but well, almost like they're welded, because you just cannot pull those big old heavy metal things off of those windows at all.
Wow.
Yeah, I slept there and I looked, and there's no way. I kind of feel like they were trying to keep someone in, not so much keep someone like out. It felt to me like someone was trying to be kept inside in that room that I stayed in.
So that's the speculation that's where Deborah Renfro was kept. They added on to the house when they had to seal the wells. So part of the house is over one of the wells. There's one well outside, and the outside well, which was the first well, is where some cowboy got drunk and fell in and died. And of course, they pulled them out. But
It added to the crazy water.
yeah, there you go.
I'm sorry.
Oh boy.
Do you think the woman that they said was, crazy, do you think that living in that house contributed to her, maybe not being mentally stable, or
I don't know.
to the content?
Because well, a lot of the stuff, they hadn't been there and died yet.
Right.
Oh, okay.
She lived there, although there were natural deaths, in the house
Right.
through the years, and so it, who knows?
It's awesome. Now, you've experienced a lot of things in that house, and guests have gone in there. I'm sure you've been there. What are some of the most craziest things a guest or you have experienced in Haunted Hill House?
Well, I have two that are really kind of crazy. One is with
Like
Toby.
the lady. No, just kidding.
Like Toby. Toby was like, how little kids will, if they want to just aggravate you, and they'll just kind of poke and pester till you finally get mad. The more you ignore, the more they get. Well, I mean, Toby hisses and growls and all the time. And it's not a big deal. Or you hear "get out" or something,
Right.
So that's just standard. And so I tend to stay in the axe room, which is up at the front. It's right by the foot of the stairs and the front door. And I stay on the side of the bed right by the door, so I can hear all of that, hear the hall, hear the stuff in the living room, because I've heard people, like parties in there where you can just hear, but you can't make out. You hear the residual footsteps up and down. Those working girls were busy that night. And
Making that money.
and
Time limits. Come on.
so, it's just, it's a constant thing. But
Right.
I've had the piano's played before, but more like it was a little kid, because it's just like, bam, 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 woke me up one morning. But so I'm sound asleep, and I hear the Toby hissing in my, like it wakes me up. It's so loud, but I didn't open my eyes. I didn't react. I just went back to sleep. It's like, it's Toby. And I ignored him,
It's Toby.
Totally ignored it. I know some people would have been out of the house at that point, but
she was tired.
I would be the same thing. I go away.
My law enforcement background, I think, has a lot to do with that. And my father, because he tried to scare the little girls all the time growing up, hide somewhere and jump out. And my sister and her little friends would go, run away. And I just look at them. But it's like, and
so he was scared of you. You scared him.
So Toby, there was no reaction. And then a few months later, I was in there by myself again. And because I have spent more nights alone in that house than anybody has. And this time I was awake, and I go get in bed, and I just barely lay down, close my eyes, wide awake, and immediately it's like we were literally nose to nose. And where he does his hiss, it's it's like blowing my hair, and you can kind of feel the spittle kind of thing, but there's no spittle, of course. But It's like, if you open your eyes, I mean, his eyes are going to be like, he's going to be, close enough to kiss you. No reaction. I didn't open my eyes. I just rolled over and went to sleep. So we went from the little bit to the lot. And then later on, several months later, when I was working on the book, I spent 3 days at the house. And the whole point of me staying at the house was to just be there like I was living there. Right. Don't investigate, just carry on like it was my house. And and to keep a journal on, what was going on. So I'm really open because the first night it was just residual. It's very calm, very quiet, super, just the typical residual and nothing else. Well, about 10 or 11 o'clock, about 11 o'clock the second night, I'm tired. I'm wide open and I'm shutting everything up. I'm in the kitchen and all of a sudden it's like Toby goes, I'm going to get her now. And it's like you could just imagine him standing at the top of the stairs, bending down, looking into the hallway by the kitchen. And he let out a combo of a hiss, roar, scream, growl, all of the above and more. It was so loud it literally shook the house. The vibrations from it, and I'm waiting for the neighbors to call 911 or something. It was that loud, so it startled me quite a bit because that one startled me. Didn't scare me, it startled me. But so I go to the kitchen door and I look upstairs and I holler at him. I just look up and go, yeah, now what? I heard you. What do you want? He didn't answer back. It was silent. So I'm going to the front door. I had been texting Kathy, and when you go to the front door, it triggers that one security camera with the audio. And as I'm calling Kathy, I'm trying to unlock all these different locks on the door to go out because my adrenaline is up here, and I want my adrenaline to get down a little bit before I come back. But as I went by and triggered that security camera, Sonny got his, notification on that. And what was on it was, look, Toby made her turn red. He'll get her later.
Wow.
So that kind of, that scared Kathy. So they called Julian Ryan, who, mother's son, who lived maybe 5 minutes away, to come over there and stay for a little while. And Ryan was so disappointed when he came over because I wouldn't let him investigate. Like, no, you go to sleep. You can't. I appreciate you coming over. I'll be fine. And I was like, I'll be fine. But Kathy was just worried since there was a threat about getting me later.
Yeah.
Right.
And
now I went over there to do an investigation, and I stayed in Jacob's room, and I've heard there was a lot of crazy stuff that happened there. Do you want to tell us what happened there and what was caught on tape? Because there's cameras all over the house. I was scared to death when I was like, for the love of God, please don't let me fart in my sleep, and it's like forever recorded. MoonGirl. And I'm like, anything but that.
Yeah, as long as it wasn't the security cameras, there was no audio. But yeah, they're everywhere except in the bathrooms.
Right.
And
well, that's what she says. If there's a video that comes out years later, it's like, exposed.
So Kathy used to stay in that room sometimes. And that was before that was when I think the old camper was still there. The one that had belonged to Phil, who they bought the house from. But once they got the one that's in there now, she won't stay in the house, just like she won't go upstairs. She was in there one night, and I don't know who she was in there with, but she had her hair, because she's got long hair. She woke up, her hair was like wrapped or tied around the post, because it's a post, has the poster, 4 posters bed. And her hair was tied.
Wow.
So she tried to get up, and it's like, no. And somebody had to help her get her hair undone.
Wow.
And then she went back in there again with a friend of hers, or anyway, Robin was in there. I don't remember if she was in there too or not, but Robin had a little bit of that. But it's also a room where they don't like men in there. It's a room that Deborah Renfro may have had to stay. It's a room that there's speculation about abortions were done in there, that there were babies that were, that were born to some of the prostitutes, and they were sold. There's a tunnel from the Baker. It's a catty corner to the Baker Hotel. That there were some babies that were stolen and and bought. So there was that trade going on. They would carry them through the tunnels over there too. We're still looking for the tunnels. We know they're down there because the city will deny tunnels, but we know there's tunnels down there. Before they started renovating the Baker, the homeless and the drug addicts used to hang out in the basement of the Baker and in some of the in the tunnel. So we know they're there. We know that the city pulled out a bunch of cars. There's somebody that Kathy spoke to whose father was an engineer, and I don't know if it was for the city or for the Baker. I don't remember which, but he had the blueprints to the tunnels in the city. And she and her brother used to play in the tunnel off the Baker. So I'm thinking he could have been with the Baker, play in there. And she said that there were cars inside the tunnel. So they're big enough you can drive a car into. But the cars were full of people's personal belongings. And so her thing always like, well, what happened to the people? Why are their suitcases, their purses, things like that in the cars? And there is a picture of her and her brother in the car, in the tunnel, that we hope that they can locate. We hope they can locate the blueprints, because this is some of the stuff we'll go over in the next book. I know that the city, talking to somebody who worked for the city in the mid-'80s, the city had all the cars pulled out of the tunnels and they auctioned them off.
Oh,
that's crazy. There was an incident with a girl in the Jacobs room. I kind of want to talk about that.
Oh yeah, the one pulled off the bed.
Yes.
Yeah. Anybody wants to see that, they can just go to YouTube and put "girl jerked off bed." You don't even have to put Haunted Hill House. It'll pop up because it's been on several shows. And so when her group came in, she and her boyfriend were what I would describe as what they imagined they were like wannabe Satanists, but how they imagined somebody would be. That's why they were the wannabes, because they didn't really know. They came in with their 666 tattoos and all this stuff like you'd see in the movies all over them, right? So they didn't have a clue. They didn't have a clue.
We know all about wannabes, trust me.
Yeah. So they're in that room. She sits on the bed, and Kathy's doing her tour at this time. So Kathy was in the room when it happened. She was doing the tour. She sits on the left side of the bed and, leans back and I don't know what was being said, but all of a sudden you see her, she just goes flying off that bed. Something supernatural grabbed a hold of her ankle and jerked her off that bed so fast, you almost didn't see her go off the bed. That's how fast she went.
Wow.
And yeah, so, they have cameras in there that, would have shown if somebody was doing it. Kathy was in there, and I don't think a human could actually pull them off the bed as fast as she was pulled off the bed.
Didn't it make the news and stuff like that?
Oh, well, I don't know about it. I don't know. It's been on so many TV shows. It's been all over, so it could have been, especially when they start doing their Halloween stuff. It could have been. But then her boyfriend got ticked off, and he went back in there a little while later, and he was like, "Oh, you gonna do that to a girl? What about me? You gonna, just his all macho kind of stuff?" And he got pushed into the wall, more like, something just I'll show you.
And the ghost says, "No problem."
Exactly.
Tell us about the upstairs, because we got some crazy stuff upstairs as well.
Well, upstairs used to be, they have Joshua's room, and Willie was his father, was his uncle, and his mother, Sarah Elizabeth, was Willie's niece, and Willie raped her. She had Joshua, and there's been some rumblings about Jacob. We're not sure, but a lot of this documentation, though, has been proven up through all these stuff through documentation. We know where people are buried. We've got their birth dates, their death dates, and death certificates for some of them. So we have, there's documentation. It's not just stuff that's made up. There were things that Phil told them when they bought the house, that through the research, Donna McCauley is a historian for the house. She's a historian for the city of Weatherford. She's in Parker County also. And so has found quite a lot of stuff, that they now have. And so the story of, so Joshua's room is because we're not sure which fireplace, because there's several fireplaces in the house, and they go up into the attic, which is the second floor, and there's rooms up there, but none of them are completed.
Right.
None of them are actual fireplaces. And so Joshua was born with possible Down syndrome. He may have had webbed feet or webbed hands or something. We're not sure which, but he was told to stay upstairs. You don't come downstairs, just like they used to do back in that time frame. They would hide all those people upstairs, or never in for a locker.
Disappointment room.
Yeah. And so, the room was open when they bought the house. They had to close it off for the fire marshal, but there's a crawl space to go in and go into the back. And that's where there's a photo that was taken by one group that was investigating when Phil had it back there that we think is Joshua. And so it's just taken on the name Disappointments Room. But that was, at one time that was all open. So you get stuff out, but you go back there and you're not always disappointed. Sometimes you're scared. But because Joshua started to come downstairs, and Willie became incensed. He started to beat Joshua. Sarah goes upstairs. Elizabeth goes upstairs to try to protect her son. Instead, he goes after her. Willie goes after her and shoots her on the stairs, and she bled out and died down on the middle of the stairs past the landing when you go down. She died there, and then he went upstairs, finished beating Joshua, who then died later, up there behind one of the fireplaces. And then there's Jacob's room, but so we have that with Joshua's room. We have Toby's room and the moonshine room. These names, Phil had already given these rooms these names, and they kept the names, after they bought them. But Toby, the story they were told, which was not correct, was that part of it was, but not all of it, because they were told, and I was told because I interviewed somebody for the book who grew up in the house. Her sister was upstairs and had a room up there, and mother also had her altar up there, and so they really weren't supposed to go up there, but she was up there with her older sister, teenager, with her friend. They were up there using the Ouija board, and supposedly they conjured up Toby. Toby is there, but actually they had told Kathy and Sonny that there were two demons, one chained to each side of the door. And I told them right off the bat, that's not how it works, And so they, finally, then they found, they have changed or revised a lot of the stuff that they were told, as they find out different things. But supposedly they conjured up Toby through the Ouija board, and they gave him the name Toby. Toby has given several different names, but we're not really sure, other than he is some level of demon. I don't know what level, but he kind of has a copacetic, relationship with Kathy and Sonny, and like he doesn't bother me anymore. He tried and gave up, and and doesn't bother me. But if somebody comes in there with bad intention, they go in there and they steal something, he will follow them home. He will follow them home. And they will have nightmares and hear the hissing and hear the growling until they call Kathy and come back to the house and bring whatever it is they stole. Even if it's they roll down the window and fling it out as they drive by. Because that
serves them right.
Well, yeah. When people crawl over the no trespassing sign, they finally put up going up to the front porch, and they get on the porch. A lot of times those people get sick and start throwing up. The house, it's like the house is looking after itself. Some of the creatures within the house or within the grounds are protecting this house. And Kathy and Sonny are kind of seen as their protectors. The ones who are the guardians of the property, because there's stuff outside too that's very ancient, very, very ancient. And so, yeah, people run out of Toby's room quite a bit. Fall down the stairs, trip over each other.
Well, that's a lesson.
Oh, yeah. And I have a lot of it on my TikTok.
Well, tell us the name of your TikTok and your book and your Facebook and everywhere we can catch you and our audience can go follow you.
So the TikTok, you can put in my name, Marth Decker, or you can put in my TikTok is Marth Decker. Somehow I left the A out. I don't know. But you can find me with the Martha Decker. And I started my TikTok doing stuff from the house because Sonny or Kathy will send me little funny or really good EVPs or when people fall, as they're running down the stairs or going screaming. And you hear him all the way down the stairs and into the kitchen. Oh, I got one that's great. He was a super skeptic. He's this tall, skinny guy, early 20s. And he's running from Emily's room around past Toby's and down the stairs and all the way around and in the kitchen. You can still hear him hollering.
So I love it when the ghosts, they prove them wrong and then they get really terrified.
Yeah. So, that's way down, about halfway down on my TikTok, because that's what I started learning how to do TikTok. And Facebook, East
I'm
Texas
still learning, Martha. I'm not very good at it.
You've got East Texas Paranormal on there. You've got Martha Hazzard Decker on there. And of course, I'm on Instagram as Martha Decker. I'm on X. I was on there before Facebook was around. I've been around on social media so long that I even was on MySpace. So
me too. I miss MySpace. I wish it would bring it back.
I know, that was wonderful. I loved it.
That was a long time ago.
Very long.
So yeah,
at least 15, 16 years ago. At least.
Around that area. $3.99, I think I was on there, and I was on Twitter back then, too, because I was on Twitter, for a long time, before I messed with Facebook.
Right.
So so you can find me, and my books are on Amazon. I have that book. I have a book called Paranormal Profiling. That if you are somebody who interviews people or you do investigations, whether it's cryptid or UFO or paranormal, where you talk to witnesses and you really don't have a lot of experience, I wrote that book because that's initially what I was talking about, was doing this kind of stuff. In other words, taking a forensic interview, it's like interview like a detective, because I was a detective in law enforcement initially. So I pretty much took a law enforcement, and so doing the radio shows turned into a presentation that I do at the conferences, because I speak at conferences, and then turned into the book. And now I'm working on an advanced copy that goes into a lot more detail and goes into a lot of stuff on how to interview children.
That's wonderful.
And,
Oh, wow.
and the correct way.
Very
Yes.
good. Very good. Yeah, I was a paralegal, so I kind of understand that, you have to take a little different approach, especially with children, if you want to get them to open up. So
You do. And I'm also a process server. I serve court documents. My sister does too, but she's calling me all the time when she gets stuff from other states because we belong to a national association and it
Okay.
has the rules of service for each state. And I tell her, what to look for. She says, oh, no, but you understand all that legal stuff. And I go, well, you don't have to read all that crap. You just look for the stuff for you. It's, so I know. So there is, it's a whole different kind of mindset.
Right.
And if you're going to interview people, you really need to keep that kind of a mindset. And then as a journalist, because I was a journalist for a long time too, so it's the same thing when you're interviewing people for articles. And it kind of teaches them, how to look for signs of deception, especially with the paranormal, because it's hot to have a paranormal business. My house is haunted, be on all the TV shows. We have a haunted B&B, a haunted restaurant. So, and people are real keen to have somebody come in and declare the place haunted when it's not.
Right. Oh, I've been there.
Oh, yeah.
I've been there where they wanted the celebrity medium to say this place was haunted. I'm like,
and then they get mad when you don't. They get mad. They get really mad.
They bash you in public. It's like, dude, your house is not haunted. Like, get over it.
Yeah.
You want to go? So you got to go pick it up someplace else and bring it with you.
Right. So this coming weekend, I'm heading out tomorrow. I'll be up in Little Rock at the General MacArthur Militarium Museum, which is haunted for a 2-day conference on Saturday, Sunday. It only costs like $10 to, get in. Yeah, there's, I'm there. I speak on the interviewing stuff one day. I speak on Hill House another day. You have the cryptid people. I think Ken Gerhardt's going to be there this year. You have Debbie.
He's awesome.
Yeah, Debbie Ziegemeyer, who is the state director for Missouri for MUFON, but she is also in charge of the underwater stuff and does the scuba diving if there's maybe something down underwater. And so she'll be there, and Carol Pate will be there. Carol Pate is an icon in Little Rock. She's been a psychic medium for a long time. She's in her 80s and she speaks. But I'll tell you, she did back in the 70s when she was a little bit younger. She did a seance down in the basement. And ever since, there's been a negative entity down in that basement of the museum. The museum is haunted. Soldiers
since
have been seen in
1970.
there.
Very good.
So,
oh boy,
that was an oopsie. No.
It's been a very long oopsie. Okay, it's been decades.
So it's fun. It's full. The whole museum is full of vendors. They've got vendors out on the grounds. I don't know if it rains this weekend. There may not be too many on the grounds, but they're in there. There's 2 levels that they use and all sorts of vendors.
Nice.
And it only costs people like $10. And then the week after that, I'll be back in Jefferson, Texas at another conference. And when she does the History, Haunts, and Legends conference there, it's an all-day thing. And then in the evening, they have 5 different locations set aside they do, investigations as best as you can with groups of people. They have teams stationed at each place, and in smaller groups, they're set up and they go in for about 30 to 45 minutes and move, rotate around till they've been to all 5 locations.
Nice.
And nice. 2 weeks after that, I will be in El Reno, Oklahoma, at another conference. then I'll be done
Nice.
for the year. So I think. Yeah.
Sounds like you've been keeping busy. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to thank you, and please, we definitely have to have you back, especially if you get any of, right after you get any of the books updated or any new experiences, and tell us all about it, and tell us all about, all the experiences you're going to have from now till then, because I have a feeling you're so open. I could feel your openness. I have a feeling you just, wherever you go, you get something. So
I do, even though John Zaffis dubbed me a neutralizer. That's another story. But hey, the Hill House, when they were there, stuff still happened. So
there you go. There you go.
Yep.
Thank you, Martha.
Sure.
Thank you so much for doing this with us. We appreciate you.
Sure. Anytime.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you to our audience. And as always, we say goodbye and blessings, and we love you. Bye.